Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Claire and I'm Head of Projects here at Birchal. I'm tuning in today from Naarm in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land of which I'm on, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'm so excited today to be joined by the incredible Citizen Wolf team for their 1 hour Power Hour investor webinar, where you can ask all the questions you want to ask. They're going to run through a 15-minute presentation. So, a couple of housekeeping rules before I pass it over to the guys. If you do have a Q&A for us today that you'd like to get answered, please use the Q&A bot down the bottom, and you will have the opportunity to upvote questions that you would love to get answered. So if you see a question in there you really like, make sure you upvote. And if you have a chat, if you need to send a message to the team or myself, please use the chat bot there, but all questions will be coming through the Q&A because we can record them as well. So if we don't get to your questions, we can send you the answers afterwards. So without further ado, I want to pass it over to the Citizen Wolf team, and you guys, need no introduction, but I'll let you run through the introduction for yourselves and we'll get cracking with today's session.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, Claire. Citizen Wolf, in the spirit of reconciliation, would also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, particularly the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on the lands on whose lands we're meeting today, and pay our respects to the elders both past and present. My name's Eric. I'm one of the co-founders of Citizen Wolf, and I look after the operations and the factory here at Citizen Wolf. I have a 15-year background in advertising, and that's how I actually met with Zoltan many years ago. Before I decided that there was more to life than trying to sell more things to people that they don't need, and spent 5 years working with various global conservation groups.
I'm Zoltan, one of the other co-founders, obviously, and I handle the brand side of things as well as the product. My background is also advertising. I had a really successful career for about a decade in that business, mostly throughout Europe, working for the biggest brands and the biggest agencies. I got sick of it and tried to make some software. Turns out that's actually quite a lot harder than it sounds, and it didn't work. So having done something that had never worked before, I felt so well, I decided to start my first fashion brand. After 6 years, wasn't able to scale that business, and so I painfully shut it down. Citizen Wolf is really the confluence of those two experiences for me, so the technology side and the fashion side. And yeah, as Eric said, we met about 20 years ago here in Sydney at an agency, and we've been in touch ever since.
And my name's Rahul, one of the other co-founders of Citizen Wolf, and I look after the technology as well as growth. I studied aerospace and mechatronics engineering before moving into management consulting for a bit, and then leaving that because I got bored of it to launch a fashion brand. That didn't work out as well, but I did learn a lot about the industry, and Citizen Wolf has been the opportunity to combine my fashion experience with my love for innovation to really rebuild an industry that's so deeply destructive. I'll pass it back to you.
Cool, so thank you for your time today, everybody. I realize it's lunchtime. What we want to do is take you through a very quick presentation, but obviously we'll open it up to questions, which I'm sure there are going to be quite a few. You've all seen the video. You all understand the problem that we are trying to solve. So 6 years ago, Eric and I started trying to solve what we consider to be the biggest problem on the consumer side of fashion, which is fit. We didn't know it at the time, but our technology and our solution was actually solving the biggest problem in the industry more widely on the supply side, which is overproduction. And if you think about a Venn diagram, there's sustainability, there's technology, and there's fashion. And Citizen Wolf really does sit right in the bullseye of the middle of those three circles. Yeah, why is it not working? So what we use Magic Fit as a bit of a catch-all label for our entire technology stack, which we're going to talk more about. But the short story is traditional fashion is beset by a plethora of problems, and our technology solves every single one of them in turn. So the first of which is flawed forecasting. Most of the fashion industry is based on guessing. You say it out loud and it seems inconceivable. It seems unbelievable that people can put trillions of dollars behind what amounts to a guess and then cross their fingers and hope that it sells. Thing is, some do, but a lot don't. So as you know, 1 in 3 pieces of clothing made every year goes to landfill unsold, and it's a direct result of not being able to predict the future. By contrast, what we do at Citizen Wolf is really simple. We ask people what they want, and then we go and make it. Every single thing we make is based on data. There's not a single guess in our business. So we have, as a result, we have 0 inventory, 0 garments sent to landfill. The other problem with traditional fashion is sizing, right? Limited size breaks. Standard sizes fail most people. In fact, the data is very clear. 81% of people don't fit into a standard size break. And that's what drives the incredible returns that you see in the fashion e-commerce space. Maybe you don't know, but they're there. 30 to 50%, depending on the retailer, of orders that go out come back. And a large portion of those are due to sizing. For the same reason, repeat purchase within the industry is notoriously fickle, right? Less than 10% of people repeat at any brand. And again, that's almost exclusively driven by fit. By contrast, what we do at Citizen Wolf, backed by data, everything's custom made to fit your body via our Magic Fit algorithm. And the result of that is profound. We have 4 times lower returns than the e-commerce average, and we have 3.5 times better customer loyalty or repeat purchase than the industry average. One of the other problems in the traditional fashion business is really high working capital requirements. Most fashion brands are wholesale, and you have to make a lot of stock, front the cost of that stock, send it to the retailer, hope that they sell it, and then you've got to wait 90 days or longer to get paid, and they're going to return you whatever doesn't get sold. By contrast, again, we only make what we sell, so we actually need very low working capital requirements to scale the business. We're direct to consumer, e-com, and we get paid up front, so there's no delay on that side of things. And then from the planet's perspective, the traditional fashion industry is actually, as Rahul alluded to, extremely destructive. And according to the World Bank, in direct opposition to the Paris agreements and the need to decarbonize the economy as rapidly as we possibly can. So the World Bank says that fashion is going to increase carbon emissions this decade by 50% if nothing changes. And by 2050, it's actually going to triple carbon emissions. And that's not okay. And the short story is the self-regulation in the industry isn't working. So by contrast, our technology creates 48% less carbon per garment than the fast fashion or the mass-produced equivalents. We only use natural fibers because there's absolutely nothing sustainable about hetero yarns. And we're 100% circular, which I'll talk more about in a second. As I said, we have a catch-all of magic fit, really, but that sort of obfuscates the fact that our technology stack is actually 3 levels, 3 layers. The first of which we call Magic Fit. That's the consumer-facing proposition. It's the 3D body algorithm. So all we need is your height, weight, and age to create a 94% accurate mathematical estimate of your body from which we make your clothes. The second layer of the tech stack we call Garment OS. And that's the software that we built, again, internally, that controls the factory and the production. So what color gets made when and all the rest of it. As well as the pattern generation software that takes your Magic Fit and turns it into effectively a garment, custom fit to your body. And then the third and final part of our technology stack is, in fact, the factory. Think of it as a hardware component. It's the laser cutter that allows us to create every single piece of clothing individually. And then it's the wider, the machinery and the people that sit around that. So just to zero in on Magic Fit, for a second, we believe it's the world's best experience for custom-made clothing. There's no configurators. I don't know if anybody's been down that rabbit hole on other websites, but it leads to choice paralysis. So we very consciously designed it to have no configurator. There's no measuring tapes, there's no body scans, and there's no awkward photography in your knickers either. All we need to create perfect fitting clothes is your height, weight, and age. Importantly, we do also ask people to leave a note about their body because what they tell us, like for example, I used to be in the swim team. We saw Claire last week, she used to swim. So people that say that allows us to shift, Rahul can talk more about this, but that allows us to shift the statistical model to be more accurate than it otherwise would be just based on the generalizations of your data inputs. Once we get your magic fit details, and obviously we get your order, so you can choose your color, you can choose your fabric, and of course you can choose the style, then we get set to making it. Everything's made in our own factory here in Sydney within 7 days. We're Ethical Clothing Australia accredited, which means that all of our people get paid fairly above award wage or better. And we're also B Corp certified, which we're incredibly proud of. And we can talk more about that if anyone has questions. But the sum total is the way of working, this way of working has profound implications for re-engineering the fashion industry, the way clothes are made, but also the business. And Eric's going to talk a bit more about that. So as I said, our technology creates 48% less carbon than the mass-produced equivalents. We're also 100% circular. So just recently, we launched our take-back scheme, which is life cycle stewardship of our products. We'll make you something, you wear it for as long as you want. If it breaks, we fix it. We do free repairs for life because it's the best thing to do for the planet. When you're finally done with that garment, we ask you to send it back to us. It's cost neutral. We'll credit you the postage back, so it doesn't cost you a cent. And what we do is we combine those old garments with the offcut scraps from our laser to create a 50% recycled jersey from which we can create your next t-shirt. So we're 100% circular. We're very proud of it. This is something we've been working towards for a few years now. And then the final important part of working this way is that there's no compromise. With Citizen Wolf, you get exactly what you want. As I said, you choose the style, you choose the color, you choose the fabric. If you want it a bit longer or shorter or wider or whatever, we can do it. We don't care. We will make you whatever you want because we know that that makes people happy. And when people are happy, they come back again and again and again. So we've got almost 3,000 five-star reviews. And it's safe to say that our customers absolutely love us. And I know that there's more than a few customers on the call today. So thank you for everything, for your support up until now. And thanks for joining us here today.
So importantly, what does that actually mean from a financial perspective? And thankfully, because customers have absolutely loved what we've done, we've been able to grow year on year despite some of the challenging retail environments that we've experienced recently. In fact, without having to spend a single dollar more compared to last year, we've been able to grow 30%. And that's just because of the strength of our repeat customers, as well as further optimizations in our marketing spend. But fundamentally, this is about building a better business. As Zoltan mentioned earlier, the important metrics for us is that because customers are happy, they're 3.5 times more likely to buy again compared to the industry average fashion brand here in Australia. And also importantly, from the perspective of both customer service and the environment, our return rates are single digits, which is 4 times better than the industry average for fashion, making it much better from a carbon miles perspective as well. In terms of profitability, if we look at the average over the last 12 months, our tees have an average price of about $81, on which we make a 68% gross margin. Importantly though, if we look at that from a transactional perspective, for the first time order that a customer places with us, they'll order about 1.6 tees, on which we'll make a $17 profit. And that's inclusive of all our advertising costs. The important part there is that it means we can put more and more money into our marketing spend without it burning through our cash pile. We know that we can grow profitably. If you look at a very, very conservative lifetime value calculation, assuming just 1.4 years for that, on average, a customer will buy 3.8 tees within that period, and which will make $130, just over $130 in gross profit for each and every customer that comes through our system. So basically what we built is a better model, a profitable growth engine that is not only sustainable, but as we introduce new products at a higher price point, such as sweats, we know that average cart will go up. And we're starting to see that filter into the system through the new products like the sweats that we've just launched. And speaking of sweats, that's really just the first of many new products that we have planned in the pipeline to really drive that lifetime value higher, as well as deepening the technology moat and defensibility of what we can do. We've already launched polos at the start of the year. Sweatpants launched last month. Linen shirts and denim shirts are being planned for later in the year, then shorts. And ultimately, we want to tackle denim as well, which will give us the entire casual wardrobe. This is one of the most important things that we'll be using the investment money from Birchal to help us to develop and grow out. And that means building not just the design, but also the technology and the factory processes to enable us to make these things. For us, t-shirts was always just the beginning. It was never the reason we started the company. And we have spent many years, the first few years, doing R&D to really validate the tech to enable it to scale. We hit product market fit for t-shirts last year. And for the next 2 years, what we'll be looking to do is to really scale the range, to scale the factory so that we can triple our capacity and make things about 30% faster than we do today. And importantly, to start testing international markets. All the results and success we've had to date has been mostly from Australia. About 95% of our sales are domestic, and that's been deliberate. We haven't targeted international audiences, even though we do get some international sales. We've been very, very focused on making sure that we can service the Australian market first and really learn as much as we can. So part of the money being used will be to investigate which market internationally is going to be most receptive to our product. We'll run a few tests in various markets, and the best performing one is the one that we will then look later down the track in probably a separate round, investment round, to then raise money to build a new micro factory to be able to service that market using, again, local fabrics, local labor for that local market, because that's going to be the most sustainable way for us to grow. And the real opportunity is really to go international. As proud as we are of our results in Australia today, it does represent only just 1% of the global market. And the real opportunity is a $185 billion premium casual wear market that exists. So the two tests we'll be running will be in the US and Europe first, and we'll grow from there. But ultimately, the ambition is to be able to scale Magic Fit to any garment for anybody, for anywhere in the world. In terms of our competition, made to measure is a green field at the moment. There aren't very many players. So we have a head start on where the industry is headed. There are two direct competitors, one called Son of a Tailor based out in Copenhagen, and they started, I think, a few months before we did, but landed on very similar ideas. Our main advantage compared to them is that they don't touch women's wear. And we also control the factory, which allows us to really analyze and optimize every step of the process, especially as we scale and grow. Amazon have also recently launched made-to-measure t-shirts as a trial in the US only, which for us is good because it validates that there is a future in this market. They're targeting a very different audience to us, but importantly, there's two main differences between how we approach things and how Amazon approaches things. For a start, we think we've built a stronger brand for fashion. Fashion is one of those categories where there does need to be a bit of cachet, and very few people necessarily want to boast about wearing an Amazon t-shirt because they're not necessarily known for their ethical credentials at the moment. But also, from a UX perspective, they require you to upload photos of yourself before they can work out the fit. Not only do we feel that's not as good a user experience, but there's also a lot of questions around data privacy, which we can sidestep through our Magic Fit technology. So ultimately, we feel very strongly that we've built the business model that is the sustainable future that the fashion industry needs. We know that it's better for people because we get an average of 4.8 out of 5-star reviews from almost 3,000 customers who have generously given their time to review us. We know we're better for the planet because we produce 48 less carbon per t-shirt compared to the fast fashion equivalent. And ultimately, we know we're better for business because our loyalty rates are strong, which provides us a very good foundation for future growth, not just in the products we make today, but in all the future products that we'll release over time. So with that, I'd like to throw over to the audience for any questions that we can help answer you today.
Amazing. Let me just pop myself up. Incredible. Alrighty, so we've got 4 questions to start us off. So I'll ask the questions in the order that they've been upvoted. And if you have any more questions coming through, please just pop them in the chat. So the first question, keen to understand more on your supply chain in relation to wool and cotton provenance and approach to carbon miles from sourcing materials once you expand.
Great question. So we use only organic cotton. Australia doesn't grow organic cotton, so it actually comes from India. It's spun into yarn in India, but we knit it into fabric in Melbourne. And in fact, 86% of all of the fabric that we use is knitted in Melbourne. And we're very passionate. It costs us a lot, right? It's expensive to work that way, but we're very, very passionate about keeping the Aussie supply chain alive, doing our part for that. And of course, that means that we keep your dollars in Australia. In terms of merino, so the wool is Australian merino wool because we grow almost all of the merino wool in the global supply. Sadly, we're missing the part of the supply chain which allows us to turn the wool into yarn. So it actually goes in bales from Australia to China to get turned into yarn, which we re-import again to knit in Melbourne into the beautiful merino jersey that we use to make the t-shirts. The final part of your question was carbon miles. So yeah, look, there's no getting around the fact that Australia lost critical parts of the processing and supply chain. When the tariffs got reduced I think it was in the 80s, yeah. And you talk to anybody in the industry today and everybody bemoans those gaps. Ultimately, I believe there is probably an opportunity to reshore some or all of those missing pieces of the supply chain, but that's a fundamentally different business. It requires an incredible amount of capital to spin up the machinery required to do it these days at scale. And that's not our business. So we work with what we can. We prioritize Australian where we possibly can, and we're doing our utmost. As I said, 86% of our fabric's knitted in Melbourne, and we're incredibly proud of that. And that in itself does limit the carbon that's emitted through the supply chain as much as we possibly and plausibly can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that answer. Reminding to everyone in the audience, if you see any questions you like, you can upvote them. If you'd like a question bumped to the top, otherwise I'm just going to head through them as they come through. The next question that's come through is, what is the expected return and exit horizon for investors? So I might hop in and give a broad comment about this as Birchal, as the licensed intermediary running the campaign, and then pass it over to the Citizen Wolf team. For many people, this is their first investment, in a private company. And being a private company, shares that you buy through these companies do not trade publicly through a listed stock exchange like the ASX or any other what we call liquid market. So if you decide, oh, I need my money back and this investment's no longer for me, because you are investing into a private company through this process, you're going to be beholden to the company's constitutions and their governance and regulations around selling your shares. So the other thing to think about in terms of exits and horizons for investors is under this asset class, we always say to people that this is a medium to long-term investment because of the nature of private companies, the nature of being quite early stage. And also when companies are usually early stage, there's also a high element of risk to these investments as well. So please speak to a financial advisor if you're considering this investment and you want to know if it's going to be right for you. Bear in mind that you may lose all your capital that you invest into offers in private companies, and look at our CSF risk warning and offer document before you make any investment. Because of that, we also can't show you a crystal ball, so we can't say, unfortunately, Citizen Wolf is going to be $100 million or $1 billion business in the future, although we all would love it to be. We just can't say that, publicly, if it's true, or make any speculative comments on that. But that being said, of course, every company is in it to make money. And I'm sure the founders have got some thoughts about, where they see this business going. So without giving us returns or valuation increase indications, there's so many ways that you could exit a company. You could pay dividends, you could sell it to a larger player, you could raise more capital, you could list on a stock exchange. So without timelines, without value sort of speculation, for Citizen Wolf, what is your vision for the future for the company, and where do you see it going?
Thanks for that answer, Claire. As you've mentioned, there's some restrictions to what we can say, and there will be, I guess, more information about this in the offer document. For us, we're in it for the long term. We think that there is a huge amount of potential in the technology that can be unlocked. Fashion is a $2.5 trillion global industry. And for us, as we said many times in the presentation, it's not about t-shirts. It's fundamentally about changing and re-engineering the fashion industry to be for the better. And we believe that the technology and the business model that we've built is what's going to change it, not the t-shirts that we make. So within that context, I hope that gives a sense of the scale and ambition that we have, and hopefully from that will come the returns.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next question. Are there plans to license the technology to other brands?
So the technology is, as we've seen in the presentation, the core element that gives us our industry leading stats, where that loyalty that we've managed to unlock it's so far ahead of other fashion brands that currently we are going to make the most. While the industry waits to catch up, because you can license the technology, but you still need a factory to produce for you. And fashion industry is an oil tanker and it's still slow to turn. And while we wait for that oil tanker to turn, we are going to make the most of it because we can. We can grow Citizen Wolf into a behemoth, hopefully. And eventually the industry will change course, or we expect it to change course. And when it does, and if it does, we will have the most road tested piece of technology on the market. So the short answer is yes, down the track. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's definitely one of the things we've discussed. It's just not going to be the immediate focus for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The next question to come through is, will all profits be reinvested into growth? If so, for how long? And then a question again about the expected return, and will there be dividends paid annually? I know I've already touched upon this as well, and that if you decide to pay dividends, there's no sort of guarantee of that timeline necessarily. But to answer the first part of the question about profits being reinvested into growth, and do you expect to pay dividends at any point in Citizen Wolf's future?
I'd say in the short to medium term, we would be looking to reinvest our profits into the business. We are very much at a growth stage, and we believe that the money invested in helping us to expand our capability and to further develop our technology is going to be a lot more valuable than providing a cash dividend, particularly in this phase. Certainly in the longer term, as we become a more mature company and a more mature business, that does become more likely, but it won't be in the short to medium term.
Fantastic. Thank you. So how much are you looking to raise in this Birchal round, and how much do you need to fund the proposed expansion? I know in these campaigns, there's usually a minimum target that companies aim for to do, basic growth expansion. And then there's usually, a bigger target that companies are looking for, which is to achieve their wildest dreams. And on top of that, after this capital raise, do you foresee a need to raise further capital in future as well?
To answer the second part of that question first, yes, almost certainly. where we'll be looking at raising more capital in the future. As Eric mentioned before, our ambition is to use the money that we're raising today on Birchal to do three things, which we've outlined, the third of which is expand the brand and expand the technology internationally. As Eric said, the way we're going to do that is very disciplined and methodical. We're going to test a bunch of international markets first. We're going to supply them from Sydney for the short term. But then once we've found somewhere else outside of Australia that's really receptive to what we're doing and that's working on the marketing side of things, our ambition is to, as quickly as possible, effectively clone the factory that we've built here in Sydney and clone it into that new market, as Eric said, to supply local fabric, local labour for that local market. And of course, it brings the delivery times down too. So there's a speed element which is really important and shouldn't be like discounted. In order to do that, we will almost certainly need to raise money again. To go back to the start of your question, our aim on Birchal is to raise $1 million. That's not going to be the minimum that we go out with, and it's not going to be the maximum either. But that's basically what we're shooting for. And that's going to allow us to do the three things that we've outlined, but probably not start this second factory. So for that, yes, we'll be raising money again.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's great to see Magic Fit is a registered trademark. What other IP protection do you have over other aspects of your process?
So this is a question that comes up a lot, so thank you for asking it. So we've chatted to a number of lawyers about this, and what it comes down to is that for our stage and for the particular technology that we have, it was recommended to keep it as a trade secret. Magic Fit is a fundamental core part of our competitive advantage. And by putting it in a patent, we have to divulge the algorithm, which means it becomes available for anyone to use as a starting point. And then we would need to spend a lot of money on lawyers to defend that trademark globally. So for us, that wasn't didn't seem like the wise thing to do. And it's better to treat it as a trade secret, very much in the same way that Coca-Cola, for example, keeps their recipe a secret rather than patenting it and revealing it to the rest of the world. Down the line, as we optimize and innovate on our production process, there'll be opportunity for process patents, which we're looking into. But for the core part of our competitive advantage, it will remain a trade secret.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. The next question to come through. So as everyone knows, there's many ways to raise capital, many ways to skin a cat. There's debt financing, there's venture capital, there's private equity, and there's also equity crowdfunding. So the question is, why are you looking to raise capital via equity crowdfunding and not through traditional venture capitalists?
We're in the fortunate position to have a product-led business and to have tens of thousands of customers around the country who absolutely love what we do and fundamentally believe in a different way of making clothes, being not only better for them in the sense that they get exactly what they want without compromise, but also in the ecological or environmental basis and the why of why we exist here at Citizen Wolf. And so for us, it just made sense to allow our customers to join us on this journey. And not only do they back us in terms of buying the product already, but further, get more deeply involved in the company and back us to take our solution globally. So that was why we were really excited about the possibility of Birchal. And it's a fairly nascent space here in Australia too. So yeah, it's nice in that sense too. It wasn't really an option a couple of years ago.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Next question. A compliment and a question. Love what you guys are doing. Congrats. How close are you to capacity now, and how can you scale it?
So we have a fairly modular system by design in the factory. So we can scale up certain parts quite simply. So for example, if we need to sew more t-shirts, we can hire some more seamstresses. There are other parts which are a bit more constrained, such as how many tiers we can laser cut. And part of the money that we're using is going to increase that capacity by getting, for example, a second laser cutter. But in short, at the moment we have a capacity of about 2,000 t-shirts a month. And depending on the month, we can be between 70 to 100% of that capacity. There are further optimizations that we're currently doing in terms of the technology layer to help us optimize more of the, or to automate more of the manual processes that we currently have, which will eke a little bit more efficiency out of that. But the big step change will come when we can get more machinery for our new factory here.
I think also just to add, we've been doing this for 6 years now, and we've gotten very, very good at forecasting and staying close to capacity, because the minute you've got too much excess capacity, you're losing margin, you're running inefficiently. So the 6 years of experience that we've had in running our own factory allows us to run close to capacity and know when we have to expand it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. Another question's come through on the models and the marketing of Citizen Wolf. So Citizen Wolf prides itself on being custom-made clothing, but all your models are stereotypically attractive. Will you commit to having more diverse models in your marketing, including all sizes, ages, genders, and abilities?
That's a great question. And the short story is, yes, we are. If you look right back at the start, we were not nearly as diverse as we are now, I think, in terms of, at least in terms of ethnicity. It's diversity is something that's really important to us as a founding team. We are acutely aware that there are no women sitting here talking to you today. That's on the business side of things, right? So that's my point here is we think about this and we talk about it all the time. So I'll come back to the marketing in a sec, but just to make very clear, we have a commitment to find women who want to join what we're doing and join the management team here. So as we use this money that we raise on Birchal to hire more people, that will be top of our list. To circle back to the marketing question, we're much better at diversity than we were, but yes, to your point, we can and should be using many more shapes, body shapes, through our advertising. This is not an excuse, but if you go looking for models, you'll find that it's not that easy to find those kinds of bodies. There's a lot of very skinny, very good looking girls and guys on the places and the marketplaces that we use to source our models. So that being said, yes, short story, yes, moving forward, we will. We're getting better at it all the time, and it's a journey.
I'll also just add, Zol and I, we do this stuff together. Every week, if not every second week, we talk about, so there's a secret project we have, which is unlocking Magic. Magic Fit's incredible because it's you. And we can unlock Magic Fit with diversity of models to show the website, to reflect you in the website. And we talk about it all the time, and it comes up and we're like, how much money do we need? And we've calculated it, and it's more money than we have right now. But it is one of the projects on the roadmap, because with the technology that's out there now, it's so possible, money withstanding, to create an experience where the website looks like you. It'll look like me, it'll look like Eric, it'll look like anybody out there, down to skin tone.
And body shape.
And body shape, exactly. So that is a project that we talk about and we wishfully dream about, and we'll do it.
So just to be clear, or just to develop more what Rahul said, the point there is when you stick your Magic Fit details onto our website, our perfect ideal future is that all of the models then change to be your body shape on our website. And then there's the ethnicity layer on top of that as well, which is not so easily deciphered, I guess, from your input details, obviously. But there are other ways that we can sort of predict and do that. But yeah, the ultimate ideal state is that our website reflects you when you have stuck your details into it. So that's something where, yeah, it's been on the horizon for ages, and we're, you know, we will get to it for sure, because there's not a single other place that does that. And you know, having the magic fit being a necessary input to buying the thing just puts us ahead of the game in terms of we're not asking in some creepy way for you to personalize the website. It's just a very natural response to how you shop with Citizen Wolf.
Yeah, well, you never know. Maybe if you have hundreds of investors after this process, you can send out a little form survey invitation. You can have an investor photo shoot day and get them to help source a lot of the diverse models for the platform. I definitely know for Birchal, now all of our bug testers, we've got a very, very enthusiastic group of investors on Birchal who are like, we'll test all your bugs for you, or we'll get out there and like test your website or get involved. So yeah, I think that's one of the great things about crowdfunding is you can always get your investors involved once they've made their investment as well. Alrighty, we've answered 9 questions. We've got 19 to go, so I'm going to chop through it in the final 15 minutes. And if we do run out of time, this is being recorded. Your questions are being saved in the Q&A. So if you have a question, make sure it's in the Q&A, and I'll send it to the Citizen Wolf team after the session, and they'll get back to you with the answer. Next question: how much debt is Citizen Wolf currently holding? Is this a concerning number considering increasing rates heading into 2024? Okay,
good question. So Citizen Wolf does have debt, but I'd say about 90%, if not more of it, is in the form of a convertible note, which will actually convert into equity when we complete the Birchal round. So the debt that you'll see on the balance sheet when you look at the offer document will not actually exist once the Birchal round is completed. So to answer the question directly, no, we're not concerned about the debt levels.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Next question. Are you committed to above minimum wage in the second market for your employees, and does B Corp certification carry over to a new market?
Yes. So we are definitely committed to doing the right thing by our workers. It's actually part of our constitutional document in terms of being a B Corp. We made a change that said that even if Zoltan and I and Rahul disappear, the business, whoever takes over the business, must continue the requirements of B Corp, which is to put people like community and workers at least at the same level as property, if not higher. Each of the markets that we go into, we will definitely provide a living wage, because the whole point of our business is not to have exploitation, and we're not looking, for example, to go into the US to pay a third world country wage. Or that. We will also endeavour to get the relevant local certifications, so that we, like our business here in Australia, gets independently audited to ensure that we are doing what we're saying we're doing.
Yeah, fantastic.
Just highlight what Eric said. It's about a living wage as well. Even though governments might mandate a minimum wage, often they're not livable, especially in countries like the US. So we are committed to living wages, which is sometimes can be more than minimum.
Yeah, on average, our machinists, for example, are paid about 25% higher than the minimum specified by the ECA.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Another question has come through. I know we've touched upon this a little bit in terms of potentially manufacturing for other brands, but the next question to come through that's been upvoted is, do Citizen Wolf have any opportunity or intention to sell the Magic Fit technology to widen the potential sustainability benefits to other manufacturers?
Look, the short answer is yes. It's a matter of timing. And like I was saying earlier, as the industry, or we expect the industry to see what we're doing, see our incredible performance and our incredible retention rates and shift. And as brands come on board to that model of working, there is the potential to open up Magic Fit. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. What's the management's expertise in manufacturing and in upscaling a business?
So my background is in running businesses. Even though that I've worked in the ad industry, it was actually managing the the agencies themselves. And my background in terms of academics was actually have a commerce degree in running businesses. Having said that, right, my experience is not in running a factory. And a lot of what we've built has been based off, I guess, a tech principle of trial and error. We rapidly iterate, we're constantly testing new ways of doing things and arriving at a solution which I think is quite novel for the industry. It's how we've been able to create custom fit clothing at scale in a way that traditional manufacturing doesn't. Having said that, as we continue to grow and as we raise money, the people that we hire should be better than ourselves and should have more experience. So one of our senior managers, for example, is Aldona Brangman. She has worked as head of the production lead at Cube for 14 years, and she now looks after the factory. So she brings a wealth of experience in terms of manufacturing and scale. And as I mentioned, as we hire more people, that's what we're looking for, people who can fill out the knowledge gaps that we have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. The next question, again, a bit of a compliment and then a question as well. You guys are ahead of the curve in so many areas, but pricing is or might be a barrier for wider market penetration. Unfortunately, many people will always choose the cheapest garments. Can you discuss this a little more and whether you see that as a challenge or something that will fade away as prices rise and consumers choose sustainability as a default?
That's a great question. And it's something that we talk about all the time. And look, we're lucky enough to be handed microphones and asked to speak at conferences and panels and all the time and that kind of stuff. And this same question comes up all the time. The short story or the short answer is there's a green tax. We refer to it as the green tax, which is that what it costs you to do the right thing as a consumer today. And to your point, we are not, I fundamentally don't believe that we are expensive either, certainly not within the fashion category and definitely not for what we provide in terms of the experience, the product being custom made for you, and then obviously all the environmental benefits too. But we talk about price all the time and basically until we're at price parity, to your point, people will still choose the cheaper option. It's the same with ethical manufacturing. Give people the choice. If it's the same price, they'll always take the one that's made in Australia. But as soon as you charge more for that thing because the input costs are more, suddenly people's desire to do the right thing fades away at the checkout. So this is something that we're acutely aware of. The short story is over time, we believe that as we scale the manufacturing side of the business, we will be able to reduce the price. We can't say with any great deal of certainty when, but that is our long-term ambition. It's not to be the most expensive garment out there. It's to hit price parity with not Kmart, like we're never going to, and we never want to be selling clothes where the price is not paid by the consumer. The true cost, right, is not paid by the consumer. We want to make sure that anything we sell is adequately and accurately reflects the input costs of doing things the right way. Over time, though, we definitely do see a world where our technology enables us to minimize, if not annihilate, that green tax that exists right now.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Will you be bringing on a wider C-suite team, specifically in logistics or finance?
Yes, it may not be in this round, but we definitely will be bringing on more and more people as needed. So right now we have an accountancy firm that helps us with more of the CFO style questions as needed. In terms of logistics, as we reach a point where that becomes, or hopefully before it becomes a problem for us, we'll bring on that expertise as required.
And as you mentioned, Rahul, I mean, you guys have got a very good track record of seeing around the bend and understanding when you're going to hit capacity and logistics issues. So I reckon got lots of confidence you'll be able to hopefully nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem.
One thing I should add, because we haven't really mentioned it, is that it's very easy to see us as a fashion manufacturer type company, because that's what we appear as for most people. But we don't see ourselves that way at all. We see ourselves as a tech company masquerading, right, as a fashion company. We have huge amounts of data, right, that we obsess over and gather, not just in terms of measurements, but in terms of our metrics, right? How quickly can we make a t-shirt? What step is taking the longest? What part of the garment is creating the most errors that we need to remake? And that data is what we use to help drive a lot of the process innovations that we have. So that's one of the reasons why we've not needed, I guess, a more traditional fashion optimization expert just yet. But I think once we will hit a point in the future where that sort of expertise will become more valuable for us. It's just not right now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we've got time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions, and then we'll talk about next steps and wrap up today's session. So as I said, hop in there and upvote your favorite questions in our last couple of minutes. But of course, if you have a question that hasn't yet been answered, or if you'd like to ask one, please pop it in and we'll save it and send it to the Citizen Wolf team today to answer as well. A tricky question for one of the second last questions is, how do you feel about potential recession, and will that affect your company's growth? And what worries you most about your expansion as well? I might answer 2 questions in one there.
I'll take it on. Yeah, this is also a good question because it's something we talk about as well. Certainly inflation and interest rates are the 2 things that are top of mind for a lot of people, which could or will provide some headwinds for us. I think we're fortunate in terms of our customer base tends to be more affluent, just by the nature of the price point, and historically have had far less or have been less impacted by these things. So, for example, despite COVID, despite lockdowns, despite all these economic issues we've had in the last 2 years, right, we've still managed to grow without having to spend any more marketing dollars. Fingers crossed that continues in future. But even if that doesn't, right, a lot of the money that we're using or getting from this investment is about optimizing our cost base as well. So while there may be margin pressures, right, the efficiencies through scaling and technology should alleviate a lot of the negative impacts, right, of things like rising costs. Short of a massive change in economic conditions, like inflation hitting 20% or something like that, we're pretty confident in our projections that our margins can be maintained, that we will continue on the path that we have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just going to get done on that one and that one as well. The second last question. You guys have a strong advertising and e-commerce background. What is the current customer acquisition cost and how is this trending? And if you provide sort of rough information around that.
Yeah, so it's around, it was in the slide there, it fluctuates between $60 to $80, I think averaging around 70 something over the last year. And that includes salaries. I really want to note that includes salaries currently. Yeah. And salaries, because it's a fixed cost, will take up less and less of that as our spend goes up. So we expect, I really do expect, that customer acquisition cost to drop as the salary component becomes less of it. But look, on the flip side, as we acquire more and more customers, it gets harder, yada, yada. But the important thing is, even at this higher cost, we're profitable on the first order. So as salary decreases, as CAC improves, we only get more and more profitable, and we have more room for testing, call it, more room for testing.
Yeah. There's 2 other items I'd add to that. And the first is, as we release new product SKUs, and t-shirts are like the lowest price item in most people's wardrobes, the average cart goes up, which will improve those metrics. The second thing is having more items that people want to buy from us will also increase the average cart, which will further improve the lifetime value calculation that we saw in the presentation earlier.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And lucky last question, a slightly big one, but I think you guys will handle it. The focus seems to be focused on moving to other international markets. What percentage of local market do you feel you have achieved already? And what is your plan to grow this?
Yeah, I can go. I wouldn't say moving to international markets does not mean we're dropping our focus on Australia at all. It's just getting our foot in the door, because this is, right now it's a green space. We're leading the industry and we want to stay there. So there's markets that are bigger than us, and as we've learned what we have in Australia, we want to get that started in the other markets. But it does not mean we're going to stop focusing on Australia. We've captured a fragment of the Aussie market, and there's so much more to capture, and we intend to.
Fantastic. A final sneaky question, because I did see it come through, and then I'll talk about next steps. The name, Citizen Wolf. What triggered the name Citizen Wolf?
Right. Yeah, we get this question quite a lot. So we had, when we started, literally 300 names on a board, and we couldn't work out what to call ourselves. Anything that sounded cool was already taken. So I think 6 months of banging our head against a wall, we decided to take a step back and have a think about who's the type of person that's actually interested in what we're going to do. And it was two things. The first criteria is that they're citizens of the world. They're people who care about provenance, they care about society, they care about how things are made. The second feature about them is that they're confident about themselves. They know who they are. They don't need some obnoxious logo on their clothing to validate their identity and their worth. Right? They're not sheep. Right? They're wolves. So at that point, the two things combined, like, we should call ourselves Citizen Wolf, and the name stuck ever since.
I love it. Well, as I said, hopefully when you have a couple of hundred investors on board, the natural name will be the Wolf Pack.
Yeah, that's exactly what we call it.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Look, everyone, thank you so much for your wonderful questions. We did get through 20 questions, and we've got 12 outstanding questions, so we will be sending that through to the Citizen Wolf team. I just want to chat about next steps quickly, and then everyone can go and enjoy the rest of their lunchtime, the minute left that there is. Next steps from here. So Citizen Wolf are currently in their expression of interest campaign, which is basically the pre-sign up wait list to access the investment opportunity before the rest of the public does. So if you haven't yet expressed interest in Citizen Wolf, head to Birchal, find Citizen Wolf and express your interest in their campaign now, so you won't miss out on any SMSs, any emails or any updates about this campaign when it goes live in later June. And when it actually comes to the investment opportunity as well, as I said, all EOIs will get notification that the investment opportunity has gone live, and you will get that notification before anyone else. The things you'll need to invest when it comes to the investment period is a form of ID, and a current payment method, and you go through the Birchal 7-step process to review the offer document, the company constitution, the subscription agreement, get all the information that you need. There'll be a discussion forum where you can ask questions, or you can email the Citizen Wolf team privately if you'd like to know a little bit more about the investment before you hop right in. Anyone in Australia can invest over the age of 18 can invest up to $10,000 Australian in this campaign. If you do want to invest more than that, please have a look at our guides that I've popped in the chat about investing more than 10 grand, as you'll need to provide evidence of wholesale investor status. If you have any questions about the Birchal process or how the platform works, or if you're a bit worried and it's something quite new to you, send us an email at support@birchal.com or hit our chatbot on our website, and we'll be really delighted to help you out and answer any of your questions. But of course, if you want to take the Citizen Wolf team through their paces and ask them any more about their upcoming investment opportunity, you can reach out to them and ask them questions, bearing in mind the offer document won't be available to investors until the offer goes live, and you can look at it in much more detail then. I think that's it from me, but guys, thank you so much again for your time on today's webinar. I'll sign off here, but I might pass it over to you to say goodbye.
Okay, thanks for having us, and a special thanks to all our customers and all the people who are listening in and looking to invest. We do hope that you'll join us on this journey to really re-engineer the fashion industry for the better.
Yeah, to reiterate that, we've had over 900 people that want to invest so far in Citizen Wolf, and that's humbling, we have to say, first and foremost, but also incredibly exciting, because we believe that we've built something of real value here, and we've spent 6 years, we've built the brand, we've built the tech, we've proven the model, and we are really ready to scale. This, we're not going out sooner than it's been a long time coming. Let's put it that way, right? And we're ready for this, and we just we can't wait to welcome you on the journey.
Yeah, look, Eric and Zoltan covered most of it. I just want to thank everyone again, especially all the people giving us compliments. We love you the most. And we're really excited. We're so excited. We hope you're on board with us, and we can't wait for the future, really.
And anyone based in Sydney is welcome to come visit the factory anytime to check us out and chat with us.
Please.
Yeah, and also send you an email if they want to be a model. So maybe I'll be flicking you guys an email as well once my shirt arrives.
I'm still trying to be a model on it.
So good. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great afternoon,
Thanks.
and we'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.